This is the Titleist Pro V1, the most popular golf ball on the PGA Tour for over 20 years and the golden ticket for making Titleist the market leaders of the $1 billion golf industry. And today, we're going to cut it in half because I want to get to the very root of how this ball became so successful, to see how it happened, and because I have a feeling it's not the way that Titleist wants you to believe that it all went down, which is basically like this.
The Titleist Pro V1, the golf ball that revolutionized the sport.
What he said right there is what Titleist has been using for years and isn't really true at all. However, Titleist wants you to believe that the story goes like this. Back in the day, golfers were forced to choose between two different types of golf balls: a solid core ball for distance, or a wound ball with fibers wrapped around a solid core for more spin and feel around the greens at the price of distance. And this was one of the last ones. The Titleist Tour Professional basically ran the PGA Tour in the early 90s, but that was for a little while because the insides of it, well, they were wound and they looked like this. So yeah, that was gross, but that's part of the reason that this ball was so effective and so used in those early years, because it responded so well on the greens. However, in October of 2000, all of that would change. When at the Shriners Hospital Open, some unknown people at Titleist decided to drop off prototype Pro V1s in the lockers of everyone at the tournament that week. See, this new ball in everybody's locker had a multi-layer solid core design, one that could feel responsive and spinny around the greens while not spinning as much off the tee, allowing the ball to fly nearly as far as the solid core balls could. That ball was basically a jack of all trades, the perfect temperature porridge for Goldilocks. It did everything very well, and it didn't take long for the pros to realize that at the Shriners Open in 2000. After finding the boxes of all those balls, 47 of the pros that week put them into play, and one of them, Billy Andrade, actually won it, making it, according to Titleist, the greatest shift in golf equipment in one tournament in PGA Tour history, because they all picked up the Pro V1. And from then on, well, it's taken over. Titleist started shipping orders in December, and the adoption of the ball flew. Professionals championed the utility of the ball, fans followed, and so did the wins on tour. Through the first 29 events of 2001 on the PGA Tour, 19 of them were won by men using the Pro V1. That same year, the PGA Tour also experienced the greatest increase in average driving distance that the PGA Tour had ever experienced before and has experienced to this day. But that's how it worked for all of the best professionals, and most of that was allocated to the Pro V1. But how did it react? How did it play for normal players, everyday golfers? Thanks for coming on, John. Thanks for sitting down and doing this.
I'm happy to do it. Thanks for having me.
This is John Sherman, author of The 4 Foundations of Golf, host of the Sweet Spot podcast, +2 handicap, and more importantly, one of the best minds in golf, who happens to be playing golf when the Pro V1 came out. So if anyone should know anything about what it was like when it came out, honestly, it should be him.
You know, we were so obsessed with equipment back then also. It was just so exciting to us. And when the Pro V1 came out, we were just like, you know, we heard like rumors like, oh, Titleist had this major breakthrough in a golf ball. And I remember the first time I played with it, I thought something magical was going to happen compared to the Bellata ball or the DT ball. And I don't think I noticed anything at first, to be quite honest with you. I wasn't very good. I did notice that it spun on the greens a bit more on certain shots, but there was just like this aura around it, like kind of like when a new Michael Jordan shoe came out back then, where everyone was just like, oh my God, what is this thing? And you heard that the pros were hitting it farther and spinning it more with it. To be honest, I wasn't very good at golf at that point. I was still a beginner, so I'm not sure I noticed that much of a difference in my game.
So when John said that he didn't really notice a difference with the new Pro V1 when it came out, I wasn't that surprised. Not only because he was a beginner golfer, but I really trust his opinion that the balls didn't really show that significant of a difference, especially back in the day before they had launch monitors to really tell them. But what does that mean for the consumer, the average golfer? And how are they supposed to know which ball is actually right for their game? Well, they're really not. They're just supposed to buy it because it's the best, and everyone wants the best for themselves. If Phil Mickelson says it's perfect for him, well, I want to play like Phil Mickelson, and I think Phil Mickelson is cool, so I'm going to get the ball for myself, whether or not it's actually good for my game at all. But actually today, I'm going to tell you a secret. They aren't the best, because you can get the exact same ball for a cheaper price. So wouldn't that, in fact, be a better ball? And well, thanks to today's sponsor, Golf Ball Planet, I'm gonna hook you guys up with exactly that. Today, golf already brings too many worries into your game. So why don't you get rid of just one of them by stepping up to the tee, not worried about losing a $5 ball, and hit the exact same ball just as far, and maybe without those worries, it'll even help you play better too. So save yourself all of that heartache and head on over to Golf Ball Planet, where you can find any ball you could possibly want with several different condition ratings to pick from. And you could shop without worry, knowing that these are real Pro V1s. They're not those refurbished nonsense that you see all over the internet today. They have real human beings waiting by the phone and by the email to answer any question you have and help you get playing golf as soon as possible. And look at it this way. Once you hit a golf ball once out of the box, it's already used. So you might as well save yourself the money, go over to Golf Ball Planet and find yourself those balls to play your best golf. And on top of that, today we have a special discount for you guys to use code ROLU15 at checkout at golfballplanet.com to get yourself a special deal and load up on golf balls. So now that we've successfully stockpiled enough golf balls to last us the next 2 decades, seriously, Golf Ball Planet is awesome. Please check them out. It's time for me to tell you why Titleist didn't revolutionize anything at all with the Pro V1. A little while ago, I posted a video where I sliced a 25-year-old 3-iron off the tee at Bethpage Black and embarrassed myself in front of 200,000 people. But what no one knew is that I was also using a 25-year-old golf ball, one that came out prior to the Pro V1, had all of the same characteristics of that ball, and in my opinion, should have been the ball to revolutionize golf history, and was used by none other than Tiger Woods. This is the Nike Tour Accuracy TW, also a multi-layer solid core ball with very similar abilities as the Pro V1, but more importantly, it was put into play 4 months before anyone even knew the Pro V1 existed. Apparently, the engineers at Nike and Tiger Woods had been cooking up this ball that could do a little bit of everything and work perfectly for his game for a very long time, but the truth is, he was still a little uneasy with it. That is, until he finally put it into play in May of 2000, where he won the tournament and from then on basically won everything. The inclusion of this ball into Tiger's game happens to coincide with the greatest run of sporting athleticism in golf history. Up until the release of the Pro V1 in October, when it was given to all those pros at the Shriners Open in their lockers, well, Tiger competed in 8 events with the Tour Accuracy TW. While everyone was still using those wound balls, he won 6 of them, including 3 majors. So what does that sound like to all of you? Because to me, it sounds like an incredible marketing opportunity. But before we get into the real curiosity behind Nike's marketing of the Tour Accuracy TW, I have to be honest with you. The Tour Accuracy TW was not the first solid core multi-layer ball on tour or available to the public, even though it came out technically before the Pro V1, because that title belongs to the Top Flight Stratotour 90, the ball that came out in 1996 and won 2 majors while it was at it. This was another solid core ball that was supposed to do everything a great player could want with a ball, that Goldilocks effect, and Mark O'Meara actually won both the Masters and Open Championship in 1998 using it. With the Stratotour 90 from Top Flight, we saw a very traditional ball release. It was new technology, but they were still trying to cling to the norm, as we can see here with them calling the cover a super soft balata material. I have a feeling they were worried about alienating consumers because it was a significantly different product to what people were used to, and though Top Flight was a much bigger character in the ball market than they are today, they didn't necessarily have the pull of professionals that Titleist had. And so all the marketing was careful. This is one of the few ads I was able to find from 1998 where it's listed in the deals section as the #1 multi-layer ball on tour. Well, yeah, of course it was, because I think it was basically the only one on tour. But that Nike ball was an entirely different story, because if Nike was good at anything, it was marketing. They made some of the most iconic golf ads of all time and had one of the most iconic golf marketing tools in Tiger Woods ever in the history of the game. But why didn't they sell? Why didn't they last? Because this is what the writers from Equip2Golf had to say after they first experienced the ball. at the PGA Merchandise Show in 2001. Nike Golf introduced the Tour Accuracy TW, also known as Tiger's Ball, tailor-made for his game with a 5% harder cover. This was Tiger's Ball, and I don't even know if that means it's going to fit me well, telling by my swing speed and comparing it to his. It absolutely should not. But we're going to compare it not only with the ball that I normally use, the Pro V1, but also the old Pro V1 and the Top Flight Tour 90. So now that we're at 5-iron, we're going to evaluate all these balls on the TrackMan. We're going to see if there's any discernible difference between all of them, and we're going to talk about it in a second. All right, so after about 20 balls hit with each one, I have some wedge numbers to look at. Basically, it's all incredibly similar to what the new Pro V1 does today. With a wedge, it might be a little bit different, but spin is pretty similar, distance is pretty similar. Ball head speed or ball speed is a little bit more for the newer Pro V1. That all makes sense, but one thing I did notice in that I really can't go on with the balls like this is they are starting to come apart, especially the Nike ball. I'm not sure if that was like how it used to be when it first came out, but it's hard to continue the test like this. I didn't even get the whole driver set done. I also am terrible with my driver, to be completely honest. Now, this isn't a perfect test. Again, they're all old balls, anything can happen, but it's interesting to see that they all performed relatively similarly. That makes me focus even more on the marketing of all these balls to see the real difference in why one succeeded and others failed. I don't think I need to remind you or teach you about what Tiger Woods was to the golf game, because he was different than anyone else and he played a different game to everybody else. So why in the world would you market a ball tailor-made for this alien of a golfer's game, something that no one can possibly replicate? Well, if I look back to the same report from Equip2 Golf, they also happened to say something about the Pro V1, and it went like this. Titleist introduces the hottest ball on the market. 3 pieces with solid core and soft cover for increased distance and drop and stop performance. They highlighted the Goldilocks-like effect of the Pro V1, while Nike focused on something special, but in doing so alienated too many people, something they could never afford to do because Titleist beat them to the market entirely despite them having the ball ready. Before Titleist had the Pro V1 available to anyone, even the pros. As I said, Tiger had the ball in play 4 months before anyone else had the Pro V1. Now, Nike's initial plan was to use the momentum created from Tiger's insane Pebble Beach win to flow the sales into their ball. But they didn't distribute or honestly produce the ball at all because it was all done by Bridgestone, and so they didn't have stock ready to sell nor the machines to build the balls at all. However, I'm gonna be honest, Titleist had another ace up their sleeve that made all of this marketing potentially trivial from the very beginning. Titleist had already the title of selling the most premium golf balls. They were the highest selling golf ball on tour. They just didn't necessarily sell the most balls because Spalding or Top Flight sold more balls. They just sold them for a cheaper price because they sold cheaper balls. So Titleist already had this elite reputation. All they needed was something so much seemingly better than every other product on the market that not even average golfers could ignore it. And dropping a bunch of pearly whites into the lockers of the best golfers in the world, well, did the trick perfectly. Did you end up using the Pro V1?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, it was almost like a status symbol.
And so that success of Titleist with the Pro V1 has basically doomed the potential for all premium golf ball makers, including those 2 competitors that I've been talking about this whole video. Top Flight was first sold to Callaway in 2003 for $125 million, and then 9 years later, it was sold again to Dick's Sporting Goods at a loss of 84% of its value in 2003. And Nike, well, I don't think we need to say any more on what happened to their golf equipment. And so that brings us to today, where Titleist has led the golf ball market with the Pro V1 for over 2.5 decades. Not, however, because it revolutionized anything or was the best golf ball ever made, but because of better timing, circumstance, and the failures of others to market well. But that's actually not the first time Titleist did something like that. But until that video comes out, well, watch this one about the failure and fall of Nike Golf. Thank you for watching.